El Mencho shot down military helicopters with rocket-propelled grenades, killing 9 soldiers in one attack. The Trevino brothers burned their victims alive in oil barrels, turning screams into smoke. These are, without a doubt, some of the most dangerous individuals to ever walk the earth. El Mencho. At the apex of our list stands a figure whose very name has become synonymous with terror across Mexico and beyond. Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, commonly known as El Mencho, is widely regarded as one of the most dangerous and elusive cartel leaders in the world. Born into poverty on an avocado farm in Aguililla, Michoacán, this man would rise from humble agricultural origins to become the founder and supreme commander of one of the most violent criminal organizations ever assembled. Under El Mencho's leadership, the cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, CJNG, has transformed into one of Mexico's most violent and profitable criminal organizations, responsible for a significant portion of the fentanyl and methamphetamine flooding global markets. The organization operates with military-like precision, employing extreme tactics, including ambushes on law enforcement, massacres, torture, kidnappings, and even drone bombings. His operations span Mexico and extend internationally, making him a top target for US and Mexican authorities, with a $15 million bounty on his capture. Despite massive manhunts, El Mencho remains at large, reportedly hiding in rural Jalisco, Michoacán, Nayarit, or Colima, protected by mercenaries and suffering from kidney disease. While El Mencho commands from the shadows, his most dangerous rival emerges from a criminal dynasty that has redefined brutality in the modern era. El Chapito. The son of the infamous Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán, has proven that criminal dynasties run deep in Mexico's underworld. Born on August 15, 1983, Iván Archivaldo Guzmán Salazar, commonly known as El Chapito, has emerged as a key leader in the Sinaloa cartel, particularly heading the Los Chapitos faction. This faction has distinguished itself through its aggressive expansion into synthetic drugs, particularly fentanyl, which has fundamentally altered the landscape of North American drug trafficking. Guzmán Salazar is often described as the most visible and violent of El Chapo's sons, with allegations of ordering murders, kidnappings, and orchestrating large-scale drug trafficking operations. His criminal empire extends far beyond traditional narcotics, as he oversees operations including fentanyl production in Culiacán labs, precursor chemical imports from China, and distribution networks spanning the US, Europe, Asia-Pacific, Africa, and the Middle East. The violence associated with his operations has been staggering, with over 50 killings reported by one affiliate. His faction's role in the US fentanyl crisis, causing over 100,000 annual deaths, positions him as a global threat. Despite multiple capture rumors and a $10 million reward offered by the DEA and State Department, he continues to evade authorities while orchestrating what authorities describe as a reign of terror. But behind every violent leader stands a calculating mind, and in the Guzman empire, that strategic brilliance belongs to a brother whose logistical genius has proven equally deadly. Alfredillo. Operating in the shadows of his more flamboyant brother, Jesus Alfredo Guzmán Salazar, commonly known as Alfredillo, is often described as the logistical brain behind Los Chapitos. Born on May 17, 1986, in Zapopan, Jalisco, he represents the calculating, strategic mind that has kept the Sinaloa cartel's operations running smoothly, even as law enforcement pressure intensifies worldwide. As the operational mastermind, he coordinates the procurement of fentanyl precursor chemicals from China, manufacturing in hidden labs in Sinaloa, and smuggling drugs via maritime, air, and tunnel routes into the US and Europe. His expertise in logistics has proven invaluable to the cartel's evolution from traditional drug trafficking to the sophisticated synthetic drug operations that now define their criminal enterprise. Guzmán Salazar shares responsibility for the cartel's security apparatus, commanding armed sicarios, hitmen, who use violence to protect operations and eliminate rivals. The violence under his coordination has been devastating, including his role in the 2019 Battle of Culiacán, Culicanazo.
Pause here. This Battle of Culiacán was so intense that the Mexican government actually backed down and released a cartel leader. Imagine that. The state forced to surrender. It raises the question, who really holds the power?
Where cartel gunmen clashed with Mexican forces, leading to multiple deaths and forcing the government to release his brother Ovidio. The State Department offers a $10 million reward for information leading to his arrest or conviction, reflecting his critical importance to international drug trafficking operations. Yet even the Sinaloa cartel's sophisticated operations pale in comparison to the militaristic brutality pioneered by a man whose very existence rewrote the rules of cartel warfare. Z40. Few names in the annals of organized crime history evoke such visceral fear as Miguel Ángel Trevino Morales, known throughout the criminal underworld as Z40. As a top leader of the ultra-violent Los Zetas cartel, he oversaw large-scale drug trafficking, extortion, kidnappings, and brutal acts of violence. His reign of terror fundamentally changed the nature of cartel violence in Mexico, introducing levels of brutality that shocked even hardened law enforcement veterans. Born into poverty in Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, Trevino Morales grew up helping support his siblings through odd jobs, including working for local drug lord Hector Manuel Sauceda Gamboa, who became his mentor. This early exposure to the criminal underworld would shape his understanding of power dynamics and the strategic use of extreme violence to maintain control. His reputation for sadism was unmatched. He reportedly enjoyed killing, unable to sleep without committing murder, and favored el guiso, dumping victims into oil barrels, dousing them with fuel, and burning them alive. Under his leadership, Los Zetas orchestrated some of Mexico's most horrific massacres, including the 2010 San Fernando massacre with 72 migrants murdered, the 2011 San Fernando massacre with 193 bodies in mass graves, and the 2011 Allende massacre with up to 300 killed in Coahuila. Extradited to the US in February 2025, he faces federal charges that could result in life imprisonment. The Trevino legacy of terror didn't end with one brother, as an equally sadistic sibling continued the reign of horror that made Los Zetas synonymous with nightmare. Z42. The younger brother of Z40 proved that brutality runs deep in the Trevino family bloodline. Omar Trevino Morales, alias Z42, is a convicted Mexican drug lord and former leader of Los Zetas, later rebranded as the Cartel del Noreste, CDN. Born on January 26, 1974, he assumed control of the organization following his brother's capture, continuing the reign of terror that had made Los Zetas synonymous with extreme violence throughout Mexico and Central America. After Z40's 2013 arrest, Z42 took over leadership, renaming the group CDN in 2015 to distance it from Los Zetas' fractured image while continuing its violent drug trafficking. His leadership style mirrored his brother's sadistic approach, employing what authorities described as shock and awe strategies designed to terrorize communities and rivals. The brothers are accused of personal involvement in dozens of murders, kidnappings, and acts of torture that have left indelible scars on Mexican society.
And here's the part that always gets overlooked. Extradition to the US doesn't guarantee quick justice. These trials can take years, and defense teams will fight tooth and nail to challenge everything from witness credibility to jurisdiction. It's a legal chess match, not a sprint.
From prison, the brothers allegedly controlled CDN via family, continuing drug trafficking, murders, kidnappings, torture, and extortion. Their organization became synonymous with some of Mexico's most horrific atrocities, including the Allende massacre, where they killed up to 300 people, including civilians, by burning homes and dismembering victims. Extradited to the US in February 2025, he faces federal charges, including continuing criminal enterprise involving murder conspiracies, with proceedings ongoing and potential for death penalty review. From the new generation of cartel leaders, we turn to the founding fathers of Mexican organized crime, where one man's pioneering vision created the template for modern drug trafficking. Rafael Caro Quintero. In the pantheon of Mexican drug trafficking, few figures command the reverence and fear accorded to Rafael Caro Quintero, the man often dubbed the narco of narcos, or the godfather of Mexican drug trafficking. Born on October 3, 1952, in Badiraguato, Sinaloa, he represents the foundational generation of cartel leadership, having pioneered many of the strategies and networks that continue to define organized crime in Mexico today. Caro Quintero co-founded the Guadalajara cartel in the late 1970s, which pioneered large-scale marijuana and cocaine trafficking into the United States. His criminal empire amassed him a fortune estimated at over $650 million at their peak, establishing him as one of the wealthiest criminals in history.
VO, this is where the story turns full circle. Decades of investigations, arrests, and rearrests, finally landing these cartel bosses in U.S. courts. But here's the twist. Every time one falls, another seems to rise. So the question is, does the war on cartels ever truly end, or is it just a cycle?
However, his legacy is forever tainted by his alleged role in the 1985 kidnapping, torture, and murder of DEA Special Agent Enrique "Kiki" Camarena, an event that fundamentally altered U.S.-Mexico relations and intensified the drug war. Caro Quintero is considered one of the most dangerous cartel members due to his ability to evade capture while allegedly resuming operations after prison releases. Following his controversial 2013 release and subsequent 2022 rearrest, he was extradited to the U.S. on February 27, 2025, alongside 28 other cartel figures facing federal charges that could result in the death penalty. His case represents the culmination of decades-long efforts to bring justice for Agent Camarena's murder. As old guard leaders fall, a new generation rises, and none more dangerous than the son of a legendary capo who now commands his own army in an increasingly fractured cartel landscape. Ismael Zambada Siqueiros. The son of the legendary Ismael El Mayo Zambada has emerged as one of the most formidable figures in contemporary organized crime. Ismael Zambada Siqueiros, commonly known as El Mayito Flaco, the skinny little Mayo, is a high-ranking Mexican drug trafficker and current leader of the La Mayiza faction within the Sinaloa cartel. Born in 1982, he represents the new generation of cartel leadership, combining traditional criminal strategies with modern technological capabilities and unprecedented levels of violence. Following El Mayo's arrest on July 25, 2024, Zambada Siqueiros assumed control of La Mayiza, sparking an internal civil war with Los Chapitos. This conflict has fundamentally altered the landscape of Mexican organized crime as the war began around September 9, 2024, marked by increased homicides, forced disappearances, and armed clashes in Culiacan and surrounding areas. The violence has been devastating, with hundreds of deaths and thousands displaced as these former allies turned bitter enemies. Zambada Siqueiros runs a major fentanyl and synthetic drug operation, sourcing precursors from China and trafficking globally. Linked to labs seized in Tlaxcala and Puebla in 2025, his network spans the US, Europe, and Australia. Mexican security officials labeled him a priority objective in July 2025, with arrest warrants and ongoing operations targeting him in Sinaloa and Durango. The sins of the father often visit the son, and nowhere is this more evident than in the case of El Mencho's heir, whose American birth couldn't save him from a Mexican fate. El Menchito. The apple rarely falls far from the tree in the world of organized crime, and this principle finds its most dramatic illustration in Ruben Oseguera Gonzalez, the son of CJNG leader El Mencho. Commonly known as El Menchito, he is a US-born Mexican drug lord and former high-ranking leader in the Jalisco New Generation cartel. El Menchito rose to prominence as the second-in-command of the cartel until his arrest and extradition to the United States. His criminal activities were staggering in their scope and brutality. As prosecutors alleged, he personally killed at least 6 people and ordered over 100 murders. Perhaps most infamously, he ordered the 2015 ambush that shot down a Mexican military helicopter in Jalisco, killing 9 people, including soldiers and police. The reach of his criminal enterprise extended far beyond Mexico's borders, with CJNG under his influence using sophisticated tactics, including money laundering through real estate, shell companies, and international transfers. Even during his trial, the cartel demonstrated its continued power and reach as CJNG operatives spied on U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration agents and witnesses, including surveillance in Washington, D.C., and violent reprisals in Mexico. On March 7, 2025, he was sentenced to life imprisonment plus 30 years and ordered to forfeit more than $6 billion in illicit proceeds. While Mexico's cartels dominate headlines, a new breed of transnational criminal has emerged from South America's chaos, bringing unprecedented methods of terror to the hemisphere. Hector Niño Guerrero. From the chaos of Venezuela's collapsing institutions emerged a criminal organization unlike any other in the Americas. Hector Rusthenford Guerrero Flores, commonly known as Niño Guerrero, is the founder and primary leader of Tren de Aragua, TDA, a Venezuelan transnational criminal organization that has evolved from a prison gang into one of the most notorious and expansive criminal networks in the Americas. Born around 1983, his rise to power represents the new model of transnational organized crime in the 21st century. Guerrero has been involved in organized crime for over 2 decades, starting with local Venezuelan gangs and escalating to international operations involving violent crimes and human exploitation. His criminal history includes multiple convictions for murder, and he consolidated power in Venezuelan prisons, where he controlled facilities like Tocoron prison like a personal fiefdom, complete with amenities such as a zoo, nightclub, and baseball field. Under his command, TDA has been linked to kidnappings, extortion, bombings, migrant smuggling, human trafficking, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, and homicides across multiple countries. The organization's expansion has been facilitated by Venezuela's migration crisis, with TDA exploiting migration waves to establish cells in Colombia, Peru, Chile, Brazil, Ecuador, Bolivia, and the United States. On July 17, 2025, the U.S. Department of Treasury sanctioned Guerrero and 5 other TDA leaders, with the State Department offering a $5 million reward for his capture. The evolution of street gangs into international criminal enterprises finds its most dangerous expression in a Honduran leader whose reach extends across continents. Julian Adonai Archaga Carias. The intersection of MS-13's gang culture with sophisticated international drug trafficking finds its most dangerous expression in Julian Adonai Archaga Carias. Commonly known by his alias Porky, he is a Honduran national born on February 13, 1982, who has risen to become the alleged highest-ranking leader of Mara Salvatrucha, MS-13, in Honduras. His criminal empire represents the evolution of street gangs into transnational criminal organizations capable of rivaling traditional cartels. Archaga Carias oversees the gang's operations across Honduras and coordinates with cliques in Central America and the United States. His criminal enterprise encompasses drug trafficking, facilitating multi-ton shipments of cocaine from South America through Honduras to the United States, murders and violence through ordering and participating in killings of rival gang members and informants, and extortion schemes targeting businesses, individuals, and migrants. MS-13 under Archaga Carias is deeply intertwined with Mexican drug cartels, serving as enforcers, transporters, and distributors in the cocaine trade. The violence associated with his leadership has been characterized by extreme brutality, including machete attacks, dismemberments, and public executions. As of July 21, 2025, Archaga Carias remains at large, with a $5 million reward offered by the U.S. Department of State. His capture would significantly disrupt MS-13's operations given his central role in the organization's violent and profitable activities. Behind every cartel empire stands a network of enablers, and few have proven more crucial than the family members who handle the business of violence. Antonio Oseguera Cervantes. The CJNG's power structure extends deep into family networks, and few figures illustrate this better than Antonio Oseguera Cervantes, the brother of El Mencho. Commonly known by his alias Tony Montana, he is a high-ranking member of the cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, serving as a senior financial and logistical operator. Born on August 20, 1958, in Aguililla, Michoacán, he represents the organizational backbone that has enabled CJNG's transformation into a global criminal enterprise. Oseguera Cervantes has been key to transforming his cartel into a global force, masterminding money laundering, arms trafficking, and violent operations. He oversees schemes to clean billions through shell companies and real estate, smuggles U.S. firearms into Mexico, and imports drug chemicals from China via ports like Manzanillo. By mastering the business side of the cartel, laundering profits, arming enforcers, and securing chemical supplies, he transformed the CJNG into a hyper-violent, efficient machine. His operations have resulted in tens of thousands of deaths, corrupted institutions, and a surge in U.S. overdoses from CJNG-produced drugs. On February 27, 2025, he was extradited to the U.S. alongside 28 other narcos, facing minimum 15-year sentence with possibilities of life or the death penalty. The old guard of Mexican cartels produced legends of violence, none more enduring than the man who turned Ciudad Juarez into a battlefield that shocked the world. Vicente Carrillo Fuentes. The Juarez cartel's reign of terror reached its zenith under the leadership of Vicente Carrillo Fuentes, a man whose very name became synonymous with Ciudad Juarez's transformation into a war zone. Known as El Viceroy, El General, or Andrés, he is a convicted Mexican drug lord who inherited the cartel from his brother Amado Carrillo Fuentes and transformed it into a ruthless empire focused on cocaine and heroin trafficking. His leadership was marked by brutal turf wars, particularly with the Sinaloa cartel, resulting in thousands of deaths in Ciudad Juarez. The violence under his command was staggering, with Ciudad Juarez becoming the world's murder capital in the late 2000s, with over 3,000 homicides in 2010 alone, attributed to cartel wars. His organization specialized in smuggling cocaine, heroin, and marijuana through corridors like Ciudad Juarez El Paso, generating billions annually. The cartel spent millions yearly on bribes to maintain control through brute force and intimidation, creating a parallel power structure that challenged the Mexican state state itself. His 2004 assassination of brother Rodolfo, allegedly by Guzman, prompted Vicente to order the prison killing of Guzman's brother El Pollo, sparking full-scale conflict. Extradited to the US on February 27, 2025, he faces 7 counts of leading a criminal enterprise. When allies become enemies in the cartel world, the resulting violence often surpasses anything seen before, as one former CJNG founder's betrayal would prove. L85. The fragmentation of Mexico's criminal landscape finds its most violent expression in the story of Eric Valencia Salazar, a man whose journey from ally to enemy illustrates the deadly dynamics of cartel politics. Commonly known by his alias L85, he is a prominent Mexican drug lord who rose to infamy as a co-founder and high-ranking leader of the cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación before forming the dissident Nueva Plaza cartel. Valencia Salazar began his criminal activities in the early 2000s as part of the Milenio cartel, involved in cocaine importation from South America and distribution to the US. His role in founding CJNG was crucial, as he led Los Matazetas, Zeta Killers, a paramilitary-style death squad responsible for targeted assassinations and mass killings. In 2011, Los Matazetas, under his command, dumped 35 tortured bodies in Veracruz, accompanied by narco banners claiming they were cleansing the area of Zetas. After his 2017 release, Valencia Salazar broke from CJNG over disputes with El Mencho and co-founded the Nueva Plaza cartel in 2018, sparking a brutal turf war. The conflict unleashed extreme violence, public executions, torture videos, and mass killings, displacing thousands and driving homicide rates in Jalisco to new heights. Extradited to the US in February 2025, he faces racketeering and narco-terrorism charges. The Gulf cartel's survival in modern Mexico's criminal landscape owes much to a new generation of leaders who have embraced unprecedented levels of international provocation. Alberto Garcia Villano. The Gulf cartel's continued relevance in Mexico's criminal landscape owes much to leaders like José Alberto García Villano, whose brutal efficiency has maintained the organization's grip on critical border territories. Commonly known as La Quena or Ciclón 19, he emerged as a key figure in the Gulf cartel, leading Los Ciclones, the Cyclones, a violent offshoot that splintered from Los Escorpiones. García Villano's most infamous act was allegedly orchestrating the March 3, 2023, kidnapping of 4 African-American US citizens in Matamoros. The incident resulted in 2 victims murdered, while 2 others were rescued, with a Mexican woman also killed in the initial attack. This event escalated US-Mexico tensions and demonstrated the cartel's willingness to target American citizens, making international headlines and drawing unprecedented scrutiny to his operations. As leader of Los Ciclones, Garcia Villano directed drug trafficking, fuel theft, extortion, kidnappings, and migrant smuggling. His faction, among the Gulf cartel's most violent, helped make Tamaulipas one of Mexico's most dangerous regions. On January 18, 2024, he was arrested at the upscale Palacio de Hierro Mall in San Pedro Garza Garcia and extradited to the US on February 27, 2025. Religious extremism and organized crime create a particularly toxic combination, as demonstrated by a former teacher whose twisted ideology justified unspeakable horrors. José Jesús Méndez Vargas. The pseudo-religious facade of La Familia Michoacana masked one of Mexico's most hypocritical and violent criminal organizations, led by a man whose twisted ideology justified unspeakable brutality. José Jesús Méndez Vargas, commonly known as El Chango, the Monkey, co-founded and led La Familia Michoacana, a cartel infamous for its blend of extreme violence, pseudo-religious ideology, and expansive drug trafficking operations. Born on February 28, 1974, his leadership represents the dangerous intersection of religious extremism and organized crime. Once an elementary school teacher in Arteaga, he later became one of Mexico's most violent criminal figures. By 2006, he co-founded La Familia Michoacana with El Chayo, presenting the cartel as a protector of Michoacán while waging brutal warfare against rivals. Under El Chango and El Chayo, La Familia Michoacana became a powerful cartel, running meth super labs and controlling cocaine routes through Lázaro Cárdenas port. While promoting a strict moral code and acting as a parallel state in Michoacán, the group hid its true nature, marked by beheadings, massacres, and violent attacks on law enforcement. A personal decision that haunts his legacy involves sparing Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, El Mencho, in 2003, which later backfired when El Mencho founded CJNG and executed his son Diego Jesús Méndez Velázquez in 2025. Extradited to the US in February 2025, he faces charges of conspiring to import cocaine and methamphetamine, among the most elusive figures figures in Mexican organized crime, one man's ability to survive multiple cartel wars while maintaining his criminal empire marks him as uniquely dangerous. Fausto Isidro Meza Flores. Among the most elusive and dangerous figures in Mexican organized crime stands Fausto Isidro Meza Flores, a man whose very survival in the cutthroat world of cartel politics speaks to his cunning and ruthlessness. Born on June 19, 1982, in Navojoa, Sonora, he is commonly known as Chapo Isidro and leads the Meza Flores transnational criminal organization, also known as the Guasave cartel. His criminal career spans over 2 decades, beginning as a gunman and evolving into leadership of one of Mexico's most resilient criminal organizations. Meza Flores began his criminal career in the 1990s as a gunman for the Juarez cartel, later joining the Beltran Leyva organization after Carrillo Fuentes' death. Known for his cunning and survival instincts, he rose as a feared hitman and strategist, outlasting many in Mexico's deadly cartel wars. His organization traffics fentanyl, cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and marijuana to the US, using diverse methods including aircraft, boats, and trucks. The violence associated with his operations has been devastating, with US authorities linking the TCO to the deaths of numerous Mexican police, military, and rival cartel members. On February 4, 2025, he was added to the FBI 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list, with the US State Department offering a $5 million reward. His long-standing rivalry with the Sinaloa cartel, particularly Los Chapitos, continues to fuel violence in northwestern Mexico. The transformation of cartels into sophisticated criminal corporations required brilliant minds, and few have proven more valuable than the strategic genius behind the fentanyl revolution. José Ángel Canobio Inzunza. José Ángel Canobio Inzunza, better known as El Güero, El Güerito, or El Ninta, embodies the deadly sophistication of modern cartel leadership. A longtime power player in the Sinaloa cartel's Los Chapitos faction, he's spent over 20 years as a trusted advisor, financial mastermind, and security chief, helping transform the organization into a global fentanyl empire through quiet strategy and lethal precision. US prosecutors describe him as a brilliant mind behind the cartel's pivot to fentanyl, responsible for proposing the manufacture of counterfeit oxycodone pills laced with the synthetic opioid. His innovations have made him a lethal asset, coordinating chemical smuggling from China, laundering money through intricate networks, and ordering murders to shield cartel interests. Analysts see him as so vital to Los Chapitos that he's considered a likely successor if their leadership collapses. Leading Los Chimales, he orchestrated defenses against rivals, including attacks on military installations during the 2019 and 2023 arrests of Ovidio Guzman. His group has been implicated in murders, kidnappings, and territorial battles that have destabilized Sinaloa since 2024. On February 19, 2025, he was captured in Culiacan and extradited to the US on February 27, 2025, facing charges in Chicago's Northern District of Illinois for drug conspiracy, potentially facing life imprisonment for his role in flooding America with deadly fentanyl. In the deadly hierarchy of cartel leadership, operational commanders who combine logistics with violence represent the most immediate threat to both rivals and authorities. Oscar Medina Gonzalez. In the violent hierarchy of the Sinaloa cartel's Los Chapitos faction, few figures command the fear and respect accorded to Oscar Noé Medina Gonzalez. Born on May 11, 1983, and commonly known as El Panu or El Lobo, he is considered one of the cartel's most influential lieutenants, serving as the principal deputy to Ivan Archivaldo Guzman Salazar. His rise through the criminal ranks represents the deadly combination of operational expertise and extreme violence that defines modern cartel leadership. El Panu is considered highly dangerous for his blend of logistical mastery and brutal violence. He commands hit squads, carries out assassinations, and uses torture and indiscriminate attacks that often harm civilians. Notable acts include ordering the 2014 assassination of Jesus Quiñones Flores, torturing federal agents in 2017, and leading Los Ninis during the 2019 Culiacanazo. Following the 2023 arrest of Nestor Isidro Perez Salas, El Nini, El Panu assumed leadership of the faction's armed wing, making him the last surviving security boss. His operations extend to overseeing fentanyl labs and shipments that export the drug to the US, contributing to over 100,000 annual US overdose deaths. In June 2025, Mexican forces raided his Culiacan property, seizing 123 long guns, 61 handguns, grenade, rocket launchers, armored vehicles, and a tunnel. The DEA considers him armed and dangerous, with a reported reward of up to $4 million. The industrialization of fentanyl production has created a new class of criminal, with one family operation representing the pinnacle of this deadly evolution. Pedro Inzunza Noriega. Pedro Inzunza Noriega, known as Sagittario, Wonder 20, or El de la Silla, stands at the apex of modern fentanyl trafficking. At 62, the Los Mochis native leads with calculated precision as a top figure in the Beltran Leyva organization. Alongside his son, Pedro Inzunza Coronel, he has built what US authorities call the most sophisticated fentanyl production network on the planet, reshaping the global drug trade with deadly efficiency. Noriega's prominence escalated in May 2025 when US authorities unsealed a historic indictment against him in the Southern District of California, marking the first use of narco-terrorism charges against cartel leaders following President Trump's February 2025 designation of the Sinaloa cartel as a foreign terrorist organization. His criminal empire represents the industrialization of death as he heads BLO's fentanyl operations, producing and trafficking tens of thousands of kilograms of the synthetic opioid into the US over recent years. Pedro Inzunza Noriega's network is a well-oiled fentanyl machine, importing chemicals from Asia, running massive labs in Sinaloa, and trafficking across the US-Mexico border using tunnels, vehicles, even submarines. Its deadly scale was exposed on December 3, 2024, when authorities seized 1,500 kilograms of fentanyl, the largest global bust, directly tied to Noriega and his son. His network generates millions in profits while his operations fuel cartel wars, contributing to Mexico's homicide rate of over 30,000 annually. The criminal legacies of cartel dynasties continue through new generations, as demonstrated by the nephew of a legendary drug lord who has carved out his own empire of terror, El Chino. The criminal legacy of the Caro Quintero family continues through José Gil Caro Quintero, whose operations demonstrate how organized crime dynasties perpetuate violence across generations. Commonly known by aliases such as El Chino, El Pelo Chino, or Pelo Chino, he is identified as a nephew or cousin of Rafael Caro Quintero and serves as the leader of the Caborca cartel. His criminal empire spans multiple Mexican states and extends deep into the United States, making him a priority target for international law enforcement. As leader of the Caborca cartel, a criminal organization founded around 2016 by his uncle Rafael Caro Quintero, he has expanded influence into areas like Quintana Roo and Guerrero, forming alliances with groups such as the Russos and UPOEG. His operations encompass trafficking cells focused on smuggling fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamine into the United States. Violent enforcement tactics including shootouts, murders, kidnappings, torture, and debt collection. He played a key role in trafficking cocaine and fentanyl-laced drugs, fueling the opioid crisis and flooding Quintana Roo through narcovuelos, cocaine-loaded flights. His criminal reach became undeniable when in May 2025, he was arrested in El Paso with fake ID and $120,000 cash. Now facing a landmark federal indictment for narco-terrorism, material support of terrorism, and drug trafficking, his case could redefine how cartel crimes are prosecuted. Found this information exciting and unbelievable? Be sure to check out other similar and amazing videos on the screen. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video.